Welcome to Animorphs Anonymous, the podcast where we casually discuss the Animorphs one book at a time.
I'm Kaycie.
And I'm Alex.
And we're here to talk you through the plot of each book.
But more accurately, take you on tangent trips, factoid forays, and say, well, actually, as much as possible.
Join us on the 1st and the 15th of each month, and we'll take you along on our mission.
And we promise to have you back under the 2-hour time limit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army.
Wait, does Audacity have a limit on how long your recording can be? I thought it was like a 2-hour limit or something. No. Oh my god, a 2-hour limit!
Yes!
God,
a 2-hour limit! I have no idea. I've never recorded for more than an hour, but at 9:40, I'll check.
Okay.
Does it notify me of the 2-hour limit? Do we just suddenly we can never stop talking about Animorphs again after the 2-hour limit? We can never change back? I can always half screen this.
Cool.
We're gonna have to keep this recording under the 2-hour time limit.
Alright, let's talk about Animorphs.
Okay.
Oh god, what's up on that?
Not named yet podcast.
Yes. This is really, really informal, listeners. We don't even have listeners.
We don't have listeners?
Oh
we
my
don't
God.
have a name?
What are we even doing?
Just talking about Animorphs.
We're just casually talking about Animorphs. Who are we, by the way, Alex?
Oh, well, I'm Alex.
And I'm Kaycie.
And we're people.
Yes, that know each other.
We do know each other through college.
We met in art school.
Yes.
We won't say which art school for protection of privacy. It's like the Animorphs. We have to hide our identities.
That's why we're never going to tell you our last names or where we live.
Or other information.
Or what city we're in, or even what state.
Or definitely not our social security numbers.
Definitely not that. But I could probably give away mine. It wouldn't work out well for anyone. Anyways,
it would be no good.
It would be no good here. Anyways, yeah. So we've lived together for many, many years, and now we're coming together again to talk about Animorphs.
Yes. It will be good, I think.
We've
never podcasted before, so this is...
It will be something.
It will be a thing that happens.
Things will happen.
Oh boy.
They might be good.
What is your history with Animorphs?
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so my history with Animorphs, if we want to go way, way back, so Scholastic Book Fair, tiny little Alex,
Hell
imagine her running into the Scholastic Book Fair looking for like sweet erasers and things that are shaped like things they shouldn't be shaped like.
Huh.
And I see this amazing looking book with on the cover some young girl changing into a horse. And if you know Animorphs covers well, you will know that it's book 14.
I did not know that.
Sure.
Okay.
It's well, no spoilers, but it's Cassie narrating the book, which was surprising, but it immediately hooked me, and that became my history with Animorphs. And I read them not consecutively. I read them kind of randomly throughout my childhood. And then in college, we got the full series, including the Alternamorphs and the Chronicles, and I read them all over Christmas break, and now I revisit them in order every couple of years.
Nice.
So what is your history with Animorphs?
Oh god. Also, the Scholastic Book Fair, like... Do you remember in the 90s being a kid walking into your classroom and seeing that frickin' Scholastic Book Fair pamphlet on your desk?
Oh my god.
It was like Christmas.
Hours of circling things.
Oh my god, it was Christmas.
Burned
Anyway.
pencils.
And then every month or so? Every so often they would have a book fair. And I think I got a free Animorphs book from one of those.
What? I
got book number 3, which is a Tobias book.
You had a much more epic intro to Animorphs.
Oh my god, yeah. I have actually read book 3 many, many times, and it's a ride. It's
epic.
An emotional turmoil. So I've read book 3 a lot, and I think I also obtained like book 30 something. It's a Rachel book later on. So those are the only 2 Animorphs books I'd ever read. And then you introduced me to Animorphs in college. And I read 1 through 18, I believe, and then I don't remember what happened, and I haven't read the full series, so I'm coming into this basically blind.
But yet knowing the biggest spoiler of
I do know the
series.
biggest spoiler of the series.
Yeah. I will put down now, though, we are trying to avoid spoilers, which has already proven very difficult for me.
Right.
As I sit behind you reading the books and swearing loudly at every...
Right. I'm exempt from this because I don't remember or know all of the spoilers, so...
I think I made 10 references to you today that as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, shut up!
As long as you don't tell me that Snape kills Dumbledore, it's all good.
Will you cry if I do?
Yes.
Alright.
Actually, no.
I'll keep it to myself then. Always.
Oh, God. That's a different
That's
thing.
a different crying thing.
A different crying book.
But yeah, there's already, just from reading and acknowledging, there's already some parts of the last book that I have almost said something to you, and then I'm like, right, you know the biggest spoiler, but you don't remember like a lot of the surrounding ancillary stuff, which is all horrific and terrifying, and is the only thing that has ever, like, media-wise made me actually, like, tear up.
Oh, damn.
I didn't cry at Coco.
That's a big... Like, she is, like... She does not cry.
I do not.
I have never seen her cry. And I've known her for, 10 years?
Like, more than 10 years now.
Oh, God. How old are we?
We're 1,000.
We're old ladies.
We're old.
Anyway, so that's a big deal.
Yeah, and I tear up at the end of these books.
Oh, jeez.
But... that's a long way off, because we're at book 1.
We are at book 1, and we're going to talk about it.
We are going to talk about it.
Let me get my tiny notebook of Animorphs notes.
Oh, man.
It's so tiny. You took, 10 pages of notes, and I have, a little, journalist's 2x8
I took
notebook.
it... Well, first of all, I did write all my notes down. When I wrote them, they were much shorter because I typed them in my talking to myself voice. So that's why I have 4 pages, because I'm, telling myself jokes and, notes for later.
Okay. So it's, unedited notes.
It's completely unedited stream of conscious talking.
Oh, boy. Okay, let's get into it, then.
Okay. So, book 1.
The Invasion.
The Invasion.
It's very telling, because that's basically what happened. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're getting into spoiler territory. If you've not read book 1, we're going to talk about it in detail, possibly beyond. I don't know.
But we're talking about it now, so if you haven't read book 1, well, that's a little confusing. You should read book 1.
Yeah.
Before getting into this podcast.
Also, the book is, 25-ish years old, so... I guess all bets are off at that point.
Yeah, all bets are off. We're outside of the appropriate, what is it for books? 6 months?
Is it 6 months?
It's shorter than 20 years.
2 seconds if you're Harry Potter. But...
2 seconds if you're Harry Potter. But 20 years or whatever, I think we're safe.
Yes.
But it also means these books really date themselves, which is endlessly amusing for me.
I mean, if you love 90s references, you will love these books.
Which I do.
Yes, I also do.
All right. You want to do the first synopsis, or do you want me to do it? Should we switch off as we go?
You can take the reins and I will interject occasionally.
Okay. So, book 1, the short synopsis of it, is we start out with Jake introducing us to all of the characters, and by page 4, we have their traits. And we have a very clear idea of how they go. My first note here was how I was really upset that the first thing they mentioned about Rachel is that she's really pretty. And I went into a minor rant to myself before reading the very next sentence, which was, but she's also a complete badass. And don't just focus on that.
I also had a similar note, which was, I think, almost word for word, Rachel is kind of pretty, but she's my cousin. Why? that just struck me as a really weird, opener, I get that you want to establish that she's pretty and she's your cousin, but it just kind of comes off a little bit I don't know.
I'd like her if we weren't related.
Yeah, if we weren't related.
Yeah.
And it's okay. That was weird.
But it's okay. It's okay. And I'll mention right off the bat, this is probably my favorite Jake book, because this is when Jake, without spoilers, this is when Jake is the most human to me, because he's still a kid. We haven't gotten into anything yet. He's still a kid. So, and even by book 2, that starts to deteriorate, and I feel okay saying that because we're talking about book 2 soon. And then we get into Marco, who's the analyst, and, you know, very conniving and cunning and smart and
Comic
wonderful.
relief.
Comic relief, yes. He and Jake are always getting into stupid things. There's one book where this quote stuck with me forever, which is one afternoon he and Marco argued about the color of cheese for an entire afternoon, whether it tasted green or yellow.
What?
And I one time got into this argument with a friend of mine who liked Animorphs as well, just so we could experience that pleasure.
Oh boy.
It was not that wonderful, so I don't know what Jake and Marco are on about, but whatever. We get to Cassie, who is the peacemaker and kind of pretty. And, you know, has short hair. She let it go long for a while, but I liked it short.
Oh my gosh. You're like quoting this word for word.
I know. Well, staring at your face, by the way.
Oh my gosh,
I just want that to be said. I am
Yeah.
not actually reading this. I am staring at your face, quoting Jake to
Wow,
you.
this is intense.
I've read these books a lot.
Oh my gosh.
So, that happens. We went over Rachel, Marco, Cassie, Tobias, who's the nerdy kid who is blonde with crazy hair and soulful eyes, and he's
He looks like a kicked puppy.
he looks like a kicked puppy constantly
Aw.
for a little while.
Aw, the sympathetic character.
The sympathetic character, and he plays a really interesting character in this book because I kept writing it down in my notes as the NPC, the non-playable character.
Sure.
Because he literally like follows Jake around and like he goes to Jake multiple times and is like, by the way, note this, like I was told that blah blah blah, but we'll get to that a little later. Like in 4 pages when all this shit goes down. It's literally by like page 12 you are deep within Animorphs.
Yeah.
And then Jake, who is the kid narrating this book, who likes basketball and normal things and is kind of a jock and is broad and like burly looking man child.
Oh boy.
They're all like 12 at this point, by the way.
Yeah, it's not actually established how old they are. We can assume they're somewhere in the vicinity of 12, 13, because they talk about junior high.
Yeah, and Cassie says she was 80 pounds specifically.
Oh, yeah.
So,
wrote that down.
Did you?
Yeah, I wrote that down in book 2. I was like, 80 pounds? Damn, she's tiny.
So how old are you when you're 80 pounds?
I don't know. I always picture Cassie as being very, very slight anyway.
Me too.
Like,
And short. She mentions a lot that she's short, because that's part of it. Like, when she and Jake end up hugging, she, like, comes up to his chest.
oh, yeah.
But then again,
Jake is also, like,
he's tall and
broad,
and
a tall boy.
surly. This is why I like Tobias and his soulful eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, so these kids are at the mall causing trouble. They decide to walk home and also cause trouble by cutting through the construction site, which...
The construction site in all caps.
The construction site, which, as anybody who's ever been any sort of self-preserving type person would know, is not a place you cut through, especially when they spend... And I had completely forgotten about this, actually, till the last reread. They spend multiple chapters talking about how there's homeless people camping out here, which... And, like, broken bottles and graffiti. Like, this is not a great place for 12-year-olds to hang out.
Yeah.
But, you know, whatever.
Presumably there's, like, drug lords and other shady shit going on.
And murderers.
Yeah. It's like Central Park.
It's Central Park.
Central Park.
Central
without
Park.
the park.
Yeah. No parks, just concrete.
Just Central.
It's just... it's only Central.
Anyway.
So as they cut through here, they are all just displaying more traits to help solidify that in your mind, either telling jokes or being a peacemaker between people. Rachel gets into my favorite argument, especially when I was a kid, which is like, what, you think girls can't do this? And Cassie's like, well, I'm scared. You could walk me home.
Oh my gosh.
So they end up cutting through the construction site, and Tobias is said to be the only one who's not scared of anything there. He's looking up at the sky and pointing, and then they see a flying saucer, which is a character that immediately dies, basically.
Oh boy. Does he?
So Elfangor crashes his ship there.
Elfangor the Andalite, which is our first alien race that we meet in this book series. Oh god.
And
Sorry.
also the one that we love the most. Dun dun dun. For now.
I mean,
For now.
for the little bit that he was actually alive.
Yeah, for the first.
He seemed legit.
He seemed legit. Elfangor really did seem legit. I'm going to argue the best Andalite throughout this podcast. I'm going to argue he is the best Andalite.
Okay.
And also I wrote down here that when he crashed, we get 2 references immediately. One, which is kind of, I think, a reference and not an accident, where it was Marco, I believe he said, "I don't want to believe," which, as somebody, I know, right?
I like it.
As someone deep within the X-Files right now, I loved. And then they blatantly said they're going to shoot us with phasers from, like, immediate Star Trek reference.
Oh my gosh.
And so, you've already just nailed 2 of my favorite sci-fi series, and I'm happy.
A fun Animorphs drinking game would be take a shot every time they do a 90s reference.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be... We would be dead.
we would.
Especially, like, every time Marco specifically
Like
has a 90s
110
reference.
pages of just shots.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, man.
That would be a bad idea. Anyway, it's delightful.
It is delightful. So we have those, and then Elfangor crashes, and we immediately realize he's dying, and he needs these 5 children. I almost said 5 perfect little girls, like from Powerpuff Girls, but that's not what I meant. These 5 children are going to save the world from the alien invading Yeerks, which are the next alien species we meet or hear about.
Yes. So it's like 10 pages of exposition, the history of the Yeerks and what they are and what they're doing, and all the kids are just basically freaking out because they find out the Yeerks have infiltrated Earth and are inserting their little Yeerk bodies into human brains and controlling them, making them what are called controllers with a capital C.
Yes, the capital C.
Yes.
I'd quote something later with controllers and noticed it was a capital C. Oh, I forgot my typo reference, just while we're talking about typos and spellings in here. In my e-reader, there's a typo right up front where they're talking about how there might be an axe murderer in this construction site, but they spelled it AX instead of AXE, and I was like, foreshadowing!
Foreshadowing!
But then that's just a conspiracy theory. That's not for real, I'm sure. Maybe.
It could have been a legit typo. We don't know.
Oh, man. And so then we get into who the main Yeerk enemy is, and Elfangor legitimately says, your main enemy, like, going forward, is going to be Visser 3. Like, that's... How did he get that? How did he know that? What about Visser 1?
Yeah, my question is there like a number system with these Yeerks? Like, I mean, obviously there is like a number system.
Do you want to know it?
No.
Okay, we'll just continue on.
Oh boy, we'll get into that later. I'm sure it'll come up later. Is it really important, or like or is it just kind of like factual?
No.
If it's not important, then sure.
Yeah, it's kind of factual. It comes up in the first Chronicles book that we read, the Andalite Chronicles. And it's just the numbering system is just based on hierarchy. Obviously, there's something like 100 visors, and then under that is subvisors. So, like, you have your subvisor, like, 36, and then as they get promoted through the systems, they get changed into visors. You have to be super high ranking to be a visor. Subvisors are like pretty important. They're kind of like, I don't know, mayors, something like that.
Okay.
And then it just goes down and down from there, and they also get better host bodies as they go up through the chain. The overarching chain of command is the Council of 13, and those are the 13 highest ranking Yeerks that rule over the entire body of the invading armies, and they...
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like your standard kind of army.
Yeah, your
hierarchy.
standard
you got
kind of...
your lieutenants and your generals and your majors.
Exactly.
Okay,
but Visor's like right under, like, the council. Like, that's...
Okay, that's like second tier shit.
Exactly. So Visor 3 is, like, super high ranking.
Okay.
So
we meet Visser 3.
We meet him. He's going to be the main enemy.
And why is he unique, Alex?
Because he's the only Yeerk to ever have taken an Andalite host body.
Whoa! And as we find out through Elfangor, that sounds familiar. Yeah. If it sounds familiar, like not in the Animorphs universe. I feel like I've heard that name before. Anyway.
I almost said a spoiler.
Elfangor tells them that Andalites have the ability to morph into other creatures.
Anything they can touch.
Anything the light touches.
What about that shadowy place over there? That's Yeerk territory.
It's Yeerk territory. You must never go there.
You must never go there.
Oh my gosh.
That's a Yeerk
Speaking
graveyard.
of the 90s.
Yeah, right. We're also going to probably make 90s references left and right.
Good. I mean, that's just my life.
Yeah.
Everyday life.
Obviously.
Pogs! Anyway.
Anyways.
So yes, Andalites have the ability to morph, and because Visser 3 has taken over an Andalite body, he has the ability to morph and is the only Yeerk to be able to do so, which makes him extra scary, extra OP.
Right. Absolutely it does. And he also has a shit ton of scary morphs. Alright, so we get to page 20. By page 20, the only reason I'm calling out the page number here is because I want you to know that by page 20, we have our main characters described, we have the crash ship, we have our enemies, we're introduced to Visser 3. We've also been introduced at this point to another, I believe it's the Hork-Bajir first, before the Taxons. And so they introduce us to the Hork-Bajir, and so by page 3, we've already got, like, these kids ready to fight a crashed alien ship. We know who they are. We know Elfangor. We know all this stuff. And I just love K.A. Applegate so much. Because she can do this, and not at no points did I really think, like, oh, geez, this is really rushed. Like, she's just really good at that. So, just want to call it out. And then we also kind of have an idea of how many Yeerks there are and kind of what's going on, because right off the bat he says something like, we'd have to build thousands more Yeerk pools to be able to convert even like half of the Earth's population into controllers. So like they're just seeing all of these humans as these giant food sources, controller sources, and they're like, we can outfit every Yeerk in our population with a host body if we take this planet.
And if, let's see, what in the 90s, how many humans operated?
You know what?
Occupied the Earth.
I wrote down 7 billion with a question mark.
Ah.
I meant to Google it, but I was on an airplane writing this, and so I didn't.
Some number of billion humans.
Because I was unwilling to pay for the internet.
Oh, well.
So I'm going to guess 7
I don't blame you.
billion.
Net neutrality is good.
Let's just insert our own political standings here.
Cough.
Cough, cough. Right. And the kids at this point have the power to morph by page 20. They were given the cube. And not only that, but Jake has already gone into the spaceship and he saw a picture of Elfangor's family.
Aww.
I know, it's adorable.
Gut punch.
Gut punch, and it's also Jake's biggest catalyst, I feel. He's all about family. Mm-hmm. I mean, him and Tom, they're tight, man. Well, they were. Until, you know.
Oh, yes. Jake has a point of mentioning that his older brother, Tom, they used to be very close and suddenly are not. What's going on there?
What could possibly be going on? If only he'd go to the sharing with his brother. His brother keeps inviting him. Why doesn't he go to the sharing?
Oh, boy.
The sharing that has a, like, weird title right after every time Tom mentions it. It's fun. We do barbecues. So, anyways. Yeah, so he's a family dude, and I think that seeing Elfangor's family really it really resonated with him.
Yes.
Because that's what he's all about. And that's all I'll say about that. No spoilers. Oh man. Here's my first mention of Tobias being the NPC of this book, because Tobias, after they go through the construction site, Tobias has his moments with Elfangor. He stays later than everybody.
Yes. When
everybody else is, you know, hiding and doing their thing, Tobias kind of is mourning Elfangor because he got eaten alive by Visser 3.
Oh yeah, Visser 3 comes and
eats him alive. Like, legitimately.
Yeah,
that's he gets off of the ship,
morphs into a giant fucking alien and literally swallows. Oh man.
He literally shreds him, swallows him whole, except for the chunks of meat that go flying to the Taxons when they eat the chunks of meat flying off of
this book gets heavy real fast.
Well, yeah, and when they're in the construction site, so I'll keep going in order. I won't skip ahead. But just remember, we're coming off this gory thing of Elfangor getting shredded to a billion pieces in the shredder monster's mouth and the chunks of meat falling to the Taxons. So the kids are like pissed, and Jake is like ready to get up and run at him screaming. And I think it was Marco that grabbed him and was like, "You freaking idiot, get on the ground. We're 12." And so a bunch of mysterious things start happening. They realize there's some human controllers there. Visitor 3 starts monologuing like any good villain does. And so the kids are ready to go. They're about to be discovered by a Hork visitor. When they, lay low, they think he's gone. And then shit just hits the fan. They're discovered. They run. They take off every direction. They start saying, like, run whichever way you can, split up. They can't catch us.
Right.
And Jake's path is into the construction building areas. That's the bunch of, like, confusing rooms. It's pitch black. And as he's running away from them, they're right behind him. He runs into a hobo who we don't actually hear what happens to him, but presumably gets killed. Because the orders were to kill the kids running away and bring back their heads for identification.
Right.
We're on, like, page 25, guys!
Hooray!
And already this has happened. Yay for children's books!
Yay!
So, that's a pretty intense first bit. That's kind of where it cuts out and Jake goes home. We don't really find out how he goes home. He says something like, I don't remember how I got home. Things just went south.
Things went very south.
Things went very south. So the next part of the book is Jake waking up with Tobias coming over, and Tobias is apparently acting very out of character because his large soulful eyes were very pleased instead of just soulful and puppy kicked. And he was snapping his fingers and being like, I did it. And Jake's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I morphed. And he's like, what, that wasn't a nightmare? And Tobias is like, are you stupid? Obviously not. We had a deep emotional connection with that alien. And that's... We. Well, yeah.
I mean, they did. Like, I guess, with the Andalites, they can... There was some sort of, like, mood transference kind of psychic shit going on.
Yeah. And can I do a little bit of a spoiler and talk about, our Andalite?
Sure.
Like, okay, I just wanted to say, I'll keep it as light as I can, but the other Andalites in the series do not seem to have this strong emotional transference that Elfangor did. Okay. And the race is said to be very kind of uptight, so I don't know if it was just
like
because...
the elves from Lord of the Rings?
There are so many Lord of the Rings references in these books.
Okay.
Like, so, in fact, book 2, they specifically call out Tolkien.
Oh, yeah, they do.
So, and... as we go on, there are a lot of Tolkien references. And I'm a fan, so it works out. But, so he's kind of like not your standard Andalite. He's done a lot of weird things. So when you go back in his timeline, a lot of things happen. So I'm wondering if that was... like, if it's it's not usual in my mind for Andalite interactions, but he puts a ton of emotion into things. He uses, it's an actual technique, I believe it's called out later in the book, where you can transfer those memories to other people. So it's really, it's interesting. It's really, I love it. I think he's so cool. He's my favorite Andalite. I'm just going to call that up now. So anyways, Tobias with his... snappy interactions. Spirit fingers. I imagine him, like, when she was describing this in the book, I was just literally imagining him walking around Jake's room like, da, 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 da. Like, just like... Song and dance, like, flailing wildly.
He's a happy boy.
He's a happy boy right now, because he turned into a cat.
And his cat is named Dude.
Well, yeah.
Which is...
I mean...
we all said Dude in the 90s.
It's not the worst cat name she's ever come up with.
The cat's name in the second book is pretty bad.
It's horrible.
It's the worst. But we'll talk about that soon.
Yeah, soon. Because we gotta talk about Homer now.
Oh yeah, Homer. I like Homer.
Who doesn't like Homer? He's a happy little boy. He likes running around, chewing on stuff, and barking at things in his backyard.
I assume that Homer is described as orange. I'm assuming he's some sort of golden retriever or golden lab type dog. That's just what I pictured.
I immediately pictured a golden retriever and never once considered he could be any other type of dog until you just said that.
Okay.
Now I'm doubting myself.
But we both thought golden retriever.
Immediate golden retriever.
All right. So anyway, that is Jake's dog.
Maybe they describe it in another book and that's why it's solidified in my mind. But golden retriever is what we're going with.
Well, when I think of like standard family dog, I definitely think golden retriever.
That's right. And Jake's family is standard.
Yes.
Except for his brother, who mysteriously has been a little distant. Why don't they go to the sharing together? I don't get it. Sorry, that's how they talk about it the entire first book.
Oh my gosh. Like, they just lay it on thick.
So thick.
So thick.
Like, even my idiot child brain was like, no, don't go to the sharing.
There must be something wrong with the sharing.
Yeah. And I mean, I was stupid as a child. And even I was like, no! Don't do this thing!
Oh, boy.
So Tobias goes over there, and in a non-player character moment, he goes ahead and starts telling Jake all about the interactions with Elfangor, and about the Kandronares, and the Yeerk pools, and all these things that we've never heard of before, and don't understand how, like, Tobias is the only one that knows this, and it's because he spent an extra minute with Elfangor.
Who apparently just bombarded him with this information.
Yes, completely. So, that's fun. So Jake goes ahead and tries his first morph, which is Homer. Homer. And he does it in his house with his whole family there, which is fun. Well, that's okay. We'll move right along to describing these morphs, which are apparently just disgusting and hideous, and things grow and crack
and in weird ways.
And never the same.
Yeah, never the same. It's very arbitrary. If your ears come out first, or if the fur comes, or the tail, it's all...
It's all wackadoodle, and as we go further on, there's some great times later on in the series where morphs just start horrifically wrong, and that's entertaining. And the one thing that this really, like, I always think of whenever they get intense about talking about morphing is they talk about how things are cracking and they know it should hurt. They can feel, like, numbness, like they've had Novocaine where they know it should hurt.
Yeah.
Do you think the very first Andalite to try morphing was just, like, screaming?
Oh, gosh.
I know. And then, like, do you think that they were, like, for a while, like, just be stoic and, like, get through it? Or do you think they were like, I can have this fixed in a day?
Oh, man.
I had questions about this.
Yeah. Like they had to kind of troubleshoot the morph to make it less painful over time.
Yeah. Because it's legitimately, like, breaking and growing your bones and, like, doing stuff with your bones that it should not happen.
Like your very mass is changing. Like, this morphing kind of defies physics in a way, because it kind of defies the matter cannot be created or destroyed, right?
No.
Oh. Apparently not.
No. But we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about the physics of morphing
in I believe Axe's first book.
Axe's,
when we talk
cool.
about it. And I think that might be 15. It's the one where they turn into mosquitoes.
Ew, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, and they only do it once, which is
I wonder why.
Well, like, I kind of do too, because anyways, we'll talk about that later.
There's so many tangents we want to take off onto.
I know, and I'm just dying to. So another thing I pointed out is that after let's get a little more timeliney about this. So Jake tries his morph. Tobias has already tried his morph, and they all go and meet up at the barn, where Rachel is sitting there holding a newspaper, which Rachel is constantly, like, she has really, like, weird things throughout this book. Like, she reads newspapers, she follows politics. She's, like, it's defying that typical, like, I'm a pretty girl stereotype. Like, she's called out is awesome.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, yeah, we're all here now. And Jake's like, where's Cassie? And in the wind, the distance, a beautiful black horse with its mane blowing in the breeze gallops out of nowhere. Which, by the way, is like, if there's a horse galloping around, as someone who rides horses, you notice, and you're slightly concerned when there's a loose one just, like, galloping full tilt at you. So she comes up, she starts demorphing, and it's immediately called out how beautiful she is even during demorphing. And this is not just Jake's thing. Everybody agrees on this. She's a fantastic morpher.
Yes.
She's very talented at it and wonderful and beautiful, and she can control the order in which she morphs, which comes in to save everyone's butts multiple times.
Luckily.
And so as she's demorphing in front of everyone, they think she's going to be naked. No, because girls aren't idiots. We figured out how to morph clothes. Skin-tight clothes, but still clothes. And then a cop comes screaming up her driveway, and they all kind of gather around her as she panics, and Jake says something like, morph, and she's like, which way? And he's like, human. And
right now she looks like a centaur.
Yeah, a beautiful centaur. Sorry,
centaur.
should have mentioned that. She's a gorgeous centaur, which makes no sense. It would be more like a minotaur or something, because you can't. That would be if she grew a human torso out of a horse, but really it would just be her like shucking back in.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So their description didn't make sense. They said that, but it didn't make sense.
You are absolutely right. Wow.
Just thoughts I have while reading Animorphs.
Wow,
this is
things
why.
you don't think about.
Well, I do, and that's why I had to talk to you about this. This is why we're doing this, because I
God.
have so many thoughts and feelings.
Oh,
Anyways, so the cop comes screaming up there. They're trying to hide Cassie, and he's, being a cop, he's like eagle-eyed. He's like, "What you kids all gathered around?" And
what are you kids doing on your own property?
What are you doing? I'm sorry. Well, I come and assault you on your own property. What are you hiding?
Oh, God.
And they all step away, and there's Cassie in a leotard, which the cop's like, well, that's normal. So then he starts questioning them about the construction site, and
because they're looking for the kids, because
right, that was in the newspaper.
Right.
I glossed over that.
Oh, that's okay.
Sorry.
No.
Once again, Rachel reading the newspaper at the age of 12, missing the funny sections entirely and going into the news story, which
she's very informed.
She's very informed and beautiful and smart and wonderful.
And we love Rachel.
Of course we do. And Tobias with his soulful eyes.
We're not biased at all.
I'm so biased. Oh, man. So, yeah, the guy's suspicious. They immediately peg that he's a controller because of some stuff he says about the sharing. And, like, why don't you come join the sharing? It's really fun. It's a wonderful sense of community. Hey, kid, you look familiar. Yeah, my brother's in the sharing. Hey, kid, you should join your brother in the sharing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so he's a controller. Capital C.
Yes.
We don't like them.
We don't like it.
And then my quote here that I had to say, which I'm just going to say it and then leave it and remember this in like 25 to 30 books. Rachel says, if the police have been infiltrated by the controllers, who knows how many others have too? Teachers, people in the government, newspapers and TV, math teachers for sure, Marco joked. Just going to leave that there. Remember that in 20 books.
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, it's not a huge plot point, but it's hilarious. Anyways, so everybody's like talking about morphing after the cop leaves and how this is dangerous, and clearly all these people are controllers, and it could be anyone, maybe even someone in your family. Who knows?
Maybe even you. Maybe even me.
It could be me. I could be the controller all along. I was the turkey all along.
Oh,
at least that wasn't a 90s reference.
That wasn't, that was an early 2000s reference.
Totally different.
Different times, man.
Completely different.
Anyway.
Oh, man. Okay, so the next thing that happens is the ever ongoing squabble for the first several books. The story arc of what do we do? Are we in on this? Are we going to fight? Or are we not?
Are we going to fulfill this
destiny?
Yes. The destiny thing definitely happens.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, Marco is very adamantly not wanting to do this. He's very much into... Well, he appears to be into the self-preservation thing. But we find out that... Did we find out then? That it's because of not...
He tearfully mentions it. He has the Marco moments of like... Yeah, well, my dad, I'm the only thing he has left. What of it?
Yes, Marco has a sad backstory.
He does, for now.
And I feel like he uses humor to compensate for his sad feelings. Maybe?
He does.
Maybe that's just me
No,
projecting.
he does. I just don't want to quote anything from books in the future. But,
Gotcha.
It's not a major spoiler to say this, so I will. Marco looks at this, and I'm quoting. I'm not saying this from my own, mind spells of things I've been thinking. Marco he thinks you can see the world two ways. One, you can see how, screwed up it is and be really depressed by it, or you can see how screwed up it is and find the humor in the situation. Mm-hmm. And so Marco always goes with the humor in the situation.
Yes.
But don't be fooled. He is a highly intelligent, very analytical guy.
He's great.
I love Marco. So, Marco's the most out.
Yes.
Cassie is completely on the fence because I shouldn't say that. She immediately goes into, we could save all the animals with this power. Mm-hmm. And Jake's like, cool, dude, but what about the human race? And but he says it in a loving, wonderful way because, of course, Cassie is beautiful and wonderful. Rachel, no surprise, is like, let's kick butt, take names.
Right.
Tobias is still, again, our non-player characters. Like, but did you not remember the alien? We connected, and we have to do this because of Elfangor. And it is in this conversation, or just before, that Tobias says, Jake, you're the leader. You have to decide. And Jake's like, what do you mean I'm the leader? And he's like, you just are. And Jake said he immediately felt this weight settle on his shoulders. And that's when Jake starts hitting those notes that I know for Jake. Like, throughout the series, that's when I start seeing Jake come through. And he's not the kid. He's not humanized. He is, but he's not, like, the kid he was before this happened. As soon as Tobias is like, you are the leader, it ends for him.
The death of innocence.
The death of innocence happens there. I mean, it happens multiple times over, but this is like the first layer of innocence that dies.
Yes.
And I feel bad for him.
Yeah. I feel bad for all of them. I feel bad for everything.
I feel so bad for all of them.
Oh my gosh. It's definitely a quintessential, like, with great power comes great responsibility kind of story.
I'm pretty sure they quote that at some point during the book.
Well, there you go.
I mean, no, it's like no secret that they reference X-Men, they reference Spider-Man a lot, they reference Superman a ton. Like, it's the 90s. They're like, let's reference all this. Star Trek, they already did that.
Right.
X-Files, multiple times. Oh, so anyways, that's good. And then during the same thing where they're all talking about their reasons to fight, reasons to not fight, reasons to stay out of it, Tobias is saying, like, we gotta fight because Elfangor told us to. And Marco's like, yeah, well, did you say that when your head was being swirled in the toilet? Like, what are you were bullied and now you want to be a hero because you have these powers? And Tobias is super embarrassed, but he's kind of like, yeah. And then Rachel's like, stop bullying him. Which is really funny because they have no relationship prior to this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I love them both. But they had no prior relationship to this.
Not even in, like, flashbacks in future books? Like, I'm not getting into spoiler territory? Okay.
In the TV show.
I mean, yeah, okay. So, we watched an episode of the TV show, which is, like, completely different from the books, apparently.
Completely different.
Completely different.
I mean, yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah. They did touch on, like, Rachel and Tobias meeting in the TV show, but I don't know if that's technically canon.
It's sort of canon.
It's sort of canon.
It's sort of canon, and if we're talking to a lot of people that write fan fiction, it's written into the fan fiction canon a ton.
Sure.
Like, but
I mean, it's not a far leap to assume that maybe Tobias was bullied and Rachel stuck up for him, because that's definitely her personality. And that's stick up for the little guy.
And that's exactly what Jake did too.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like it's so easy to believe. The other thing to remember though is that Tobias has a terrible home life, and he's not always constantly in school or in the same area. But it stands to reason that they would have known each other for the years that they were in school together.
Yes.
So, yeah, they liked each other. And it's, you know, Rachel just also can't stand seeing people getting bullied, just like Jake. That's as different as they are, that's one of the things that connects Jake and Rachel, I really think, is that they have those core sort of beliefs that you stand up for the little guy.
Yes.
All right, don't read my note.
Okay.
It says Alex note. That means you can't read it. All right.
I'm forbidden.
Going past that note, so the gang, after having this discussion and meeting up at Jake's house, decide, you know what? Let's go to a meeting of the sharing. Because Tom really wants us to go. It sounds like a great time.
Oh, also there's like 3 pages of Tom, like, telling Jake he should come to the sharing and being like, oh, did you hear about those kids at the construction site? They said they saw flying saucers. Oh, flying saucers. How silly. You don't believe that, do you, Jake?
It's legitimately word for word
so
like that.
Fucking thick. And you're just like, okay, we get it.
Yeah, but you don't believe in that, do you?
Oh, God.
And the funniest part is that Jake, in normal Jake fashion, picked up on this from the get-go. So Tom's like, did you hear about those kids at the construction site? And Jake's like, yeah, they said they thought they saw an alien spacecraft. How stupid. And Tom's like, haha, right? Those idiot kids. But you don't believe in that. And Jake's like, no.
Elbow.
I know. And Jake's
Wink,
like,
wink.
no. Stop talking to me like this, Tom. This is so weird.
Going. It's just like, ugh.
And he's like, let's talk about basketball. And Tom's like, I don't want to talk about that anymore. And Jake's like, how long has it been since we've known each other? So they're like, yeah, okay, Tom, we'll go to the sharing with you. So they do. And they go to this.
And they go to the sharing because I think I wrote down Marco actually pointed out to Jake, hey, Tom's acting really weird. What if he's a controller?
And Jake punched him.
Punched him in the head. That was Jake's reaction.
And he would have continued to punch him if Marco hadn't covered him in a duvet.
Yes.
And sat on him.
That's what you do when your friends get violent.
And this is really funny because this would totally work on Tobias, but he just covered him with a sheet and was like, calm down, Jake. And then he just hugged him and he was like, if you hit me again, I'm going to hit you back. What solid,
Marco.
12-year-old do you know that's like,
oh,
if
man.
you hit me one more time, I will hit you back.
Yeah.
Instead of just you idiot,
girl fight.
Because I got into a fight in grade school because I wanted to see, this my friend that I don't know anymore, Julian and I decided we wanted to see who would win a fight, boys or girls, and that caused a full-on fist fight between us.
Oh boy.
So when Jake actually swings and hits Marco in the head, you'd think that would turn into a fight.
Right. Because, the adrenaline's rushing and it's like a, reaction command that you either fight or you flight.
Yeah.
You don't just, rationally be
No,
okay,
Marco,
you need to stop.
Marco just grabs a blanket.
I can't help you. You need to leave.
Maybe he had just been trained as a child, in fire safety, and he's
de-escalate situation.
De-escalate. I can't help
Just throw a blanket on the problem.
Throw a blanket on the problem. If only he had that reaction at any other time in the series, that would lead to this hilarious sequence of events.
That would be...
Visor 3, throw a blanket at him. Although knowing Visor 3, he'd probably just wave his
tail
arms
or leave his tail and just slice it in half anime style.
If it's a TV show, he'd never get out of that trap ever.
Oh god.
Oh no, a blanket. This is terrible. Anyway,
so Marco says that Tom is a controller and Jake does not want to believe it.
So he punches him in the head.
And then they decide to go to the sharing to investigate the situation closer.
They do, and they all, they decide to go all as humans except for Tobias, who's going to be the eyes in the sky. Because, reasons. And they all have a great time there, and they're honestly surprised by how fun volleyball is. Tom mentions how the guys can't see the ball half the time in the dark, and that's really amusing.
They're on the beach, by the way.
Yeah, they're...
Which kind of, that triggered a question that I have for you later about where you think they are actually located, but we'll talk about that later.
I'm 90% sure.
Okay.
You know what? I'm not even going to tell you.
Okay.
But it really eliminates, for as much secrecy as they're trying to to tell you,
you can eliminate some places pretty quickly.
Well, you can eliminate the entire middle of the U.S.
Yeah.
We already know it's the U.S. because they talk about what state we live in.
Yeah, and it can't be a beach on a lake because of saltwater morphs that they acquire later.
Right, and they do mention it's an ocean right off the bat.
Gotcha.
So we know.
So it's either the East Coast or the West Coast.
And based on some flora and fauna that they may interject, in a book about animal morphing, we can pretty much figure out where they are. So anyways.
We'll get into that later.
We will. We will get into that.
So they go to the sharing.
They're going to the sharing.
They have fun. Maybe this is normal.
They are. And Kaycie and Marco come, they're coming back from the water. They were playing, Frisbee or some crap in the ocean. And Jake starts questioning Tom about where he's going. Because Tom says, I have to go to the meeting of, the
VIPs.
The VIP members. The full members, I think is what he says. And he's like, oh, what's a full member? And Tom's like, well, when you've been here for a while, they award you special stuff. And Tom goes, how do you become a full member? Or Jake goes, how do you become a full member? And Tom has a facial tick that immediately gives him away.
Yeah.
And so they come up, and Jake sees this happen. Jake has this moment in his head where he's like, oh shit, he's a controller.
Yeah.
And then Marco walks up and says, this is really fun, I guess Tom's not a controller. And Jake's like, no.
So, yeah, about that.
Yeah.
I just saw this thing.
Did you?
This thing just happened. So then, does that prompt Jake to turn into the dog, morph in the dog, and then go sneak over to the secret meeting that they're having?
Yes, the secret meeting on the open beach with nothing around them.
I picture them in like a big pit.
Yeah, that's how they describe
it. With guards standing around the entire perimeter of the pit.
That's how they describe
it. That's
I've
not
said
suspicious at all.
Well, that's not suspicious at all, but what's even less suspicious is a random stray dog who's the pet of one of the full member controllers that's there, gambling into the mess of them. Like, I'm a dog!
I'm a dog!
Yeah.
And also trying to eavesdrop, but also trying to be like, oh, I shouldn't act like a dog who's trying to eavesdrop. I should act like a dog who's just being a dog.
And also don't get close to Tom because he will immediately recognize that I am his dog. Right. And then, ever helpful, Jake's running around there being a freaking fool of a dog. He did try to go after like a chipmunk or something and dug the beach, and they're all like, oh, that's a normal dog thing. He finds out that Chapman's there, and Chapman says, kill him.
Chapman is their assistant principal?
Assistant principal, yeah.
Assistant principal at their school, and yes.
I don't think we ever find out who the full principal is. Not that that's important. I just don't know. I would like to know the structure.
It's specifically the assistant principal for some reason.
I'd like to be a judge of their education system, and I don't know who's in charge of it.
God.
Oh, God. So, yeah, he orders Jake to be killed, which happens a lot. They're ordered to be killed a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's like a weekly thing for them.
It's pretty much, it becomes normal pretty quickly. So they're like, well, you can't just go around killing animals. So, it was Tom that suggested it, and Chapman's the one that says, don't kill the dog. So, that's another thing Jake starts freaking out about, is he finds out Tom's a controller, does this whole thing, gambles into the crowd, and then Tom says kill him, and he's like, my own brother, he's trying to kill me.
And to Tom?
And Chapman's like, you can't just kill everything. That's stupid, Jake.
Yeah. Quit being so trigger happy, Tom.
Yeah, quit being so trigger happy. So that happens, and then Cassie wanders over and has her second run-in with the cop.
Yeah, the same cop.
Same cop. Not suspicious at all.
Right.
And the cop's like, what are you doing here? She's like, collecting shells. And it's one of those...
I'm a kid!
Yeah, I'm a kid! I do things! It's one of those moments where, like, Cassie's normally considered, like, she's normally pretty intelligent. She's usually good at reading people. And in this situation, she was like, I'm gonna go get shells! Like, it was just kind of out of character.
Under the guise of actually going to see if Jake was okay?
Yeah, she wanted to see if Jake was okay.
Right.
By collecting shells.
As a human.
As a human. She's morph capable.
Yeah. I mean, she only had one morph at that point, though, right?
That's true, and she did say earlier that a horse on the beach would be slightly suspicious. But she didn't say the same thing about a horse running down the lane at full speed towards a group of children. Just throwing that out
there.
Well, it's child logic. When I'm not gonna lie, when I was a child reading this, I thought, yeah, that makes sense. So I'm mocking it now because I recognize I was stupid.
Okay.
And I've grown a little. I've gotten a few more brain cells. Probably gonna lose them soon.
Yeah. Well.
But So the next plan, since the first plan of meandering in without any plan worked so well, the next plan is to meander in without any plan. But into the Yeerk pool.
Yes.
And they're going to find out where it is by following Chapman around. Now that they know he's a controller.
Yes. And that the sharing is a front for Yeerk insertion.
Oh, was it? I thought it was just a fun gathering of people. You don't believe in that, do you?
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. So Jake decides he's going to follow him. They're trying to decide what morph, and Cassie gives him a lizard that she trapped in a bucket. I don't know why they gave us that detail, but they trapped him in a bucket. And so Jake turns into the lizard. This is kind of before we've gotten to the whole, like, hey, let's practice morphing thing. So Jake's like, screw it. I'm going to lock myself in my own locker, turn into a lizard, and just see what happens.
I don't know how that works because I could not fit into a locker at any point in my life.
Maybe they have big lockers.
Yeah, I guess. I had the really skinny lockers.
Me too. Like, I don't think I could have fit in there.
Okay, whatever. We'll suspend reality for a little bit for that. Anyway.
Well, we'll just say they went to a rich kid's school. This is why I'm worried about their education system.
They have very spacious lockers.
They have spacious lockers. They have an assistant principal. Their principal is so high up they never even see him. And yet, like, these kids are going through these, like, manic things. And not once does, like, a counselor really ever notice that they've had this emotional turmoil. God. Their school system was either, like, just really stunted in some ways or just...
Or maybe they're all just fucking controllers in that school. And they don't even care.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, the school was being converted... Because we know by the end of this book that the school is right on top of the Yeerk pool. And one of the entrances is where we're about to find out, which, when Jake follows Chapman, is the janitor's closet.
Yes.
And, like... What?
Oh, sorry.
Tell me.
Important point. This is the first morph that the kids take that actually doesn't end up being very fun. So they've done like a horse, a dog, a cat, and a hawk, and all those morphs are apparently really cool because the dog's really happy, the cat's really powerful and cool, and the hawk is obviously like the coolest thing ever.
Obviously.
But the lizard is very tiny and very scared, and Jake actually has a hard time getting control of the lizard brain at first.
Yeah.
Because he's just, like, freaking out.
And he eats a spider.
He does eat a spider, and it is impactful in a very impactful way.
In a very tangible way
Yes.
that comes up in multiple books going forward forever.
Yeah, it's a pivotal moment for him.
It's a pivotal moment for everyone.
Yes.
We will all remember that Jake ate a spider for this book.
Also, to further make everything terrible, someone stepped on his tail, and...
Chapman stepped on his tail.
Chapman stepped on his tail on accident, and as lizards are wont to do, his tail detached from his body.
It did.
Which I had a question about that at some
Yes.
point.
I lived in Florida. I'm ready to answer your question.
Okay, but this probably feeds into the physics of morphing.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Just
Yes.
keep going. I'll answer it. I'll give it a shot.
The physics of morphing. Okay, so I wrote down, if Jake lost his tail, what if he morphed back and part of his body was missing? Like, I know that's not how DNA works, but, like, what if? Like, the transference of matter somehow. Or, like, if you get injured as an animal, when you morph back into a human, do you retain that injury? You know?
No, because it restores your DNA to how it was.
Yeah.
But this also leads to a very interesting book, a Rachel book, that's coming up in the future.
Okay.
And that's all I'll say on that.
Okay.
Because that book scarred me. That's one of my least favorite books.
Oh boy.
I know. I'll just throw that out there. It's my least. I think it's in the 40s somewhere, or maybe not quite. It's when everything's kind of ramping up. So like late 30s, early 40s, somewhere around there.
Anyway.
So anyways, they discover the entrance to the Yeerk pool, which is very clearly hell. Like, unashamed.
Yeah, there's human screamings, and it's like that Hieronymus Bosch painting.
No one had trumpeting butts.
Wait, was that in the Bosch painting? I thought that was in Monty Python.
Well...
There were butts.
It's in Hieronymus Bosch too, and that's
Okay.
also where those like the fish people come out and people that are
and they're like skewering people and.
I still
spits
regret
and shit.
not getting those Doc Martens with the Hieronymus Bosch paintings
God.
on it. I regret it to this day.
Oh my god, you should look it up. It's I don't know. It's one of his more famous paintings. You should look it up. It's something about hell.
I think it's called the Gardens of Eden actually.
Yeah,
and it's like a triptych.
Yeah, it's a triptych. It's like the third piece in a triptych. It's great.
Bosch is endlessly amusing.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so the
look
Yeerk
at
pool
this.
is hell.
Yeah.
Literal
It's
hell. There's. Oh wait. Do they actually? They don't go down there yet. He just hears like.
No, he
scream
just
and
hears
shit.
it through the lizard morph, which is kind of distorted. He's not sure kind of how good the lizard... Like, he knows they're different than people, and they're two different directions and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
but he doesn't really know how it compares to his eyes until the next time they go down there. So...
Oh, I love this next part of the book.
Then lead us through it, man.
I don't exactly remember why, but they... Oh, yeah, because they decide... They find out where the Yeerk pool is, and they're like, okay, we gotta go down there and, like, kick some ass. So, but they only have a limited number of morphs right now, so Cassie says, my parents work at the Gardens, which is some sort of zoo amusement park combo. Let's go there and get some new morphs. And so they do. I have a note down here that at some point she's describing medicine and how medicine is called meds.
I wrote that in my notes too!
Oh my god, I was so mad.
I was so mad. Tell me what you said, and I'm going to read you word for word what I wrote.
Okay, she's like telling Marco about how some of the animals have to get meds, and then she makes a point to say, meds are medicine. Sorry, I should have explained that. And, like, maybe it's because Alex and I are both very, like, into animals, and we've both done kind of, like, the rehab thing and taking care of a lot of animals, but it's
Animal
like...
rehab, not people rehab.
Yes.
We're not
We don't like
in
people.
rehab. We rehabbed things.
Yes, you birds, me dogs.
Just
but
throwing that out there.
But it's like, thanks, Cassie, I had no idea that meds were short for medicine. I was so mad.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now what I wrote, and I'm going to drop our first F-bomb, I believe. And that was...
Okay.
I'll censor myself then, I guess.
Actually, just swear. It's
Okay,
fine.
good. I said, Cassie, meds are medicine. Sorry. Fuck you, Cassie. Everyone knows that. I wrote that. I was so mad.
Oh my god.
That I wrote that down because she called... Anyways.
Like, if you're a 10 to 12-year-old kid, I
think even at 10 to 12, I was like, duh, Cassie. In fact, I started reading these, I would have been around 7 or 8 when I started reading these. And I was really young. And even then, I was like, duh, Cassie, duh. Everyone knows that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. There were a couple bits of writing in the books where I was kind of like, was that necessary to mention? Or like, what is this extraneous?
Yeah. And those moments, I think, leave the further on we go.
Okay. But, yeah, I kind of figured it was just kind of like testing the waters in the writing department.
That's fair, except everyone knows meds are medicine.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why we're making such a big deal out of this, but we're so mad about it.
Yeah, we are. I'm so glad that you called that out because I was enraged when I read that.
I was pretty mad. Anyway, so they go to the gardens, and they somehow get, like, back into the backstage area where the animals are kept, and no one fucking cares.
Yeah, they just walked in.
They just freaking walked in, a bunch of kids, and I was like, I don't know if I can buy this. Like,
I bought it immediately.
I'm gonna call bullshit on this. Like, apparently, like, the people kind of know Cassie because maybe she does this all the time. Maybe she just
right. Well, she's like the head vet's daughter, so like, she's probably back. And she said she could get in for free, so I imagine.
Yeah,
she's
maybe
back
she
there.
like helps out occasionally, but
bringing 5 of your friends back there.
Yeah,
4 of your
if
friends.
I were Zoo Security, I'd be like, hey, Cassie, you can't really do that. Can you leave? Like,
and Zoo Security does say that.
Yes, eventually they finally get around
Eventually.
to it.
Not now, though.
Yes.
For now, the guy just comes back, sees the kids messing with a friggin' gorilla, and is like, hey, you're the doc's daughter. Nice seeing ya.
Have fun with that gorilla.
Have fun with that gorilla. Have a good time with Jim.
God.
Spoilers.
Maybe he just didn't
They
give
were
a
running
shit.
with Jim. He was probably like, listen, I'm the night vet. I've been here for 12 hours. He had a bucket full of brown sludgy goo. He was probably like, anything to get me out of this brown sludgy goo nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there. I get that. I've had buckets and buckets. I picked up more poop in my life than most people I know, except for probably you. And you just get to a point where you're like, anything is better than this right now.
I need to go.
I need to go
and shower and not be around poop.
10-gallon bucket of poop. I just need to leave. And that's probably where that guy was.
Yeah.
As an adult, I really
he was done with a capital D.
I'm getting out of here now.
I must leave.
So he's like, yeah, those kids are messing with a gorilla. Cool beans, yo. And skipped out of town.
And this is the first morph that Marco
acquires. He hasn't even tested any of the other ones.
Yes, Marco has never morphed before.
He's still normal.
He's very he's still normal. He's very resistant to the whole Animorphs idea.
But he already named them Animorphs at this
yes,
point.
he did call them Animorphs. Presumably because he's very comic book inclined and he's like, we need a team name.
And we're Animal Morphers. And he comes to regret that name.
He does. But everyone else loves it.
Of course. I love it.
Anyway, he touches his gorilla, and everything is fine. Like, the gorilla doesn't really give a shit.
He did give him an apple in exchange.
Yes, which is nice. It's nicer than some of the other animals that they've acquired.
Yeah, that's true.
So Marco acquires a gorilla, and then they are discovered
by security who does care.
By a security officer who does care. So they take off running. Again, down different hallways and such.
It worked out the first time.
Yes.
Why not the second time?
Exactly. So Marco and Jake end up, they steal like a golf cart or something.
They do.
They steal like a security car, and Marco's like Tokyo drifting through the hallways.
It's not, I'll just say, it starts the series-long running gag of Marco driving.
Oh, God.
Marco's a bad driver. And of course, like, throughout it, there's details like Marco goes left or right, and Jake goes left, so he turns right.
Yep.
So, things like that.
God.
And he drives it into a hallway. Apparently, this is also like the Willy Wonka factory, because hallways suddenly shrink as they drive down them.
Oh my gosh.
So Marco drives down the hallway until it hits a point where it's too small for them to go anymore, and they just bail out of the golf cart.
Right.
And at this point, 2 other security guards are coming at them.
Yes.
So they're like running around, and there's 2 doors, and they're like, which one do we go into? And they're like, this one. They open it. There's a giant rhino. They slam it shut. They're like, screw that. We're not going to deal with the rhino. They open another door into a jungle, and they're like, well, this is probably fine. That's not what they said. That's not what they said. They went in there, and
they did not immediately see an animal.
They did not immediately see an animal. So, like, well, at least it's not as big as the rhino, I guess. They say, as Jake sits his butt down on top of a Siberian tiger, like an idiot.
Oh my gosh.
How did they not get killed just now?
Camouflage. They didn't see the tiger, and the tiger apparently didn't
see them?
You care that much?
I mean, they're well fed. They're in a zoo, but
yeah,
you know, we should look up some statistics on how many zoo employees die per year from Siberian tiger attacks. So anyways, he acquires it.
Yeah.
His genius plan.
He touches the tiger.
His genius plan is, we're going to make it go into the trance, the acquiring trance for a bit, which, by the way, doesn't always work. I don't know if they know that by now, though.
Oh.
I think they do. I think they were told it doesn't always happen. Oh. Well, sorry, spoiler. Doesn't always work.
Okay, but in this case...
In this case, it did. Unfortunately, they did not account for the second tiger. So...
Yes.
They jump on some sort of ladder thing in the rock face, they climb up there, and apparently the second tiger's claws, like, he leaps at them and it scrapes, like, right...
Barely misses them.
And they make it out alive.
And they're doing this in front of the entire zoo, like, everyone who's looking into the tiger exhibit, right? And it must be during opening hours, because they all got in. Yeah. So, yeah, they're doing this in front of everyone. Yeah.
But, you know, they take a lot of, like, throughout book one... They take liberties. And throughout book 1, all the kids do stuff that, like, in my head, I'm like, no, this is the, like, worst idea you can have. So, anyways.
But it turned out okay. And then
it turned out fine.
They didn't die, and they got a tiger morph.
They got a tiger morph, a gorilla morph.
Yep, so they made up with... the others.
Who just walked around acquiring morphs, not running into any trouble.
Yep.
Not having any adventures or doing anything unexpected. So, they're all fine. And then Tobias, I believe it's at this point that he makes some comment like, I think my hawk morph will be fine. And
yeah.
I think Jake's like, well, that's a terrible idea, but whatever, dude. And, they're like, good on you, Tobias. Thumbs up.
Kid likes birds.
Kid likes... I understand that.
I mean...
I get that. I like birds. But...
Alex really likes birds.
I really like birds. I once did a tally of how many bird morphs I'd have if I were an Animorph.
Oh my god.
It's in like the 30s.
Oh jeez.
I've interacted with a lot of frickin' birds. Anyways. So, they acquire their morphs. They're all good to go. And this leads me to my first question for you.
Okay.
Because this is a perfect time. What is your battle morph?
Oh, boy. I'm gonna have to think about that.
I mean, we can revisit this if you want.
I mean, I love wolves.
Yes.
And a wolf's jaws are powerful enough to snap, like, a moose femur in half or some shit. Mm-hmm. Maybe not a moose. Maybe, like, a elk or something. But, so wolves are pretty badass. They're fast. They can run for long distances. So I'm gonna tentatively say a wolf.
Okay.
I may change that later.
as the series goes on.
Or a harpy eagle, that would be awesome.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Because they're freaking huge, and they eat monkeys.
And sloths.
And they can dodge through trees.
They can hop in flight. They're very cool.
They're amazing. And they got those dumb little feathers that stick out of their heads.
They do.
They're so cute.
They're
you should
so
look them
adorable.
up. They're like simultaneously cute and badass. You should look them up, audience.
If
They're
you
amazing.
don't know what they look like.
Harpy eagle.
Yes.
Anyway.
I think it's Harpy.
Yes. Like the Greek lady.
Yeah.
Ladybird. What would your battle morph be?
I've literally been struggling with this question since I thought of it when reading the first book when planning for this podcast. Actually, before I read the first book, when writing down my synopsis of this podcast. And I still don't have a good answer for you.
Oh no.
I mean...
Top 3?
I could maybe do a top 3. I mean, owl is up there because let me drop some owl facts on you right now.
Oh, God.
They do have over 250 pounds of pressure per square inch in their grip. They can carry 3 times their own body weight in flight.
Great horned owl, right?
Great horned owl.
Okay.
I've met an 8-pound great horned owl.
She's terrifying.
She is terrifying.
I've also met this owl.
She's terrifying. You have. She's terrifying. So, like, you have some serious firepower there, but there's such disadvantages to being so small. So I also want to do something huge. But, you know, there's disadvantages to that. I thought a hippo would be awesome.
Oh, hippos kill more people than lions do, audience.
Right? So I was all about the hippo for a while. And, like, you know, they can open their jaws like 90 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
They have, like, freaking huge teeth.
They can trample you. Better eyesight than the rhinoceros. So, and I mean, I assume they're also similarly, like, you know, bullet resistant, like the rhinoceros was. So those are my top 2. I'm going to hold off on my third one and think about it for a while. Okay.
I need to struggle with that emotionally for a little while longer. Oh, man. But something with pockets would be cool, like a kangaroo. But anyway, no.
Kangaroo just pulls out 2 M16s and just like...
That's what I really want, is to stuff my pouch with weaponry.
Oh my God.
Why limit myself when I can...
Oh my God.
Oh God.
Oh no.
That's terrible.
That's chaos.
That is chaos. And, you know, you think kangaroos are super badass, but then you find out that guy who, like, fist fought that one because it was strangling his dog.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't want to be able to be fist fought by a
punched
human.
it in the face and it was like, what? What? And then it ran away.
Yeah, but then you see them and they'll, like, take a metal bucket and, like, he just hugs it and crushes it to himself.
Oh
and, like,
God.
so, I mean, kangaroos are terrifying.
Adult male kangaroos have, like, human, like, chest muscles, and it's really creepy.
Yeah, it's distressing. They're like a bodybuilder, but then they have, like, a giant butt. So, and then have you seen, this is a weird tangent, but did you see, like, the tendon structures in their legs?
Oh God.
No, it's really cool.
Is
like
it?
It's like this really long, like, rubber band structure on the top of their foot. So if you imagine where, like, their long foot that hits the ground is, then the top of it's their knee, or, like, it would be the back of their heel that connects to their knee.
Yeah.
It's like a rubber band in there. So the more they jump, the more energy they have. That's why they never get tired of jumping. And they never change their rate of jumps per, like, as they're going. Like, so in a minute, they could do, you know, say, I don't know, let's say it takes them 40 hops, 45 hops. But to go faster, they just jump longer distances.
That's awesome.
Right? So anyways, cool things about kangaroos.
And they use their tails to balance while walking. They, like, prop them up, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Seeing
I
a
love
kangaroo
kangaroos.
walk is a treat.
It is a treat. It's wonderful. And I love it when they do, like, the really slow hops to, like, investigate stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aww. And they got little T-Rex arms.
They do have little T-Rex with, like, razor sharp claws.
Aww.
I
Kangaroos are great.
That reminds me, like, a cassowary would be a great morph, too. You can, like, eviscerate a man.
What about a Canada goose? Canadian geese are terrifying.
See, but I have no qualms about picking them up. Like, a lot of people are like, don't go near that goose. And I'm like, when did I tell you about the people trapped on the parking structure by the Canada goose?
No.
We went to this comic book convention, and there was, on top of the parking garage, we're on, like, the top floor, so it's all open. We walked out to get to our car in the parking lot, and I was with David, and there was these people that were trying to get into their car, but there was a goose in the way that kept walking at them. And they would not go near it. They're like, oh my god, there's this goose. So, like, they kept backing off and, like, freaking out. And I just saw them, like, watch them for, like, a full minute and a half. And then I went over there and I just said, let me help you. And I just, like, walked towards the goose and I put my arms out like I do. I did my goose waddle at him and we walked away together gently. And these people were like, thank you. We were trapped.
Oh my god.
So, like, that would work.
Okay, we need to go to New Zealand. Those, what are they called? Those parrots there? The ones that you can't touch, but they destroy absolutely everything.
The cockapos?
No, they're not cockapos. They're like cockapos, but they're more common.
Are those the ones that, like, chew your windshield
yeah,
wipers
they
off?
they like rip up your car and you can't touch them because they're protected. I want to see you, like convince one to leave.
What if I just walked away, like, with my arms out and a whole herd of them followed me?
Oh my god.
Because they
Like
can't
penguins.
fly, right?
No, they can.
Oh, okay. Then it would be a flock. They would follow me.
Yeah.
I would lead them.
That'd be great.
I'm still thinking cockapos. That's my problem.
I mean, they look like cockapos. I thought they're
like the tiny
they're
ones, though,
Kias
right?
or whatever. I think they're called Kias.
Kias? Okay. Let's
Like the car.
We'll look at like the car. What if I
like-
just walked away and thousands of Kias followed me?
This podcast brought to you by Kia.
They're not a real sponsor. That's a lie.
I'm actually gonna look that up real quick.
Okay, good.
So if you want to start on the next part,
I will. You know what? That's probably a great idea because we've gone really off topic right now. So, they get at least their initial battle morphs, not their ending battle.
Okay, they
Yes.
are called. Sorry to interrupt. They are.
Do it.
They're called Kias, Kea, and they're kind of adorable. But they have like
Oh yeah.
they have like can opener beaks.
They do.
They have like weird parrot raptor beaks.
I'd pick them up. They'd be like, "You're under arrest," and I'd be like, "But look how cute it is." And then they'd probably chew my handcuffs off because we're in cahoots. Probably.
Yes.
This is how I imagine this going.
They're very smart.
Yeah. They're probably smarter than me.
I mean, most birds are very smart. Anyway.
That's true. That is true. Anyway, so now
They have their battle morphs.
They have battle morphs. They do not call out Cassie's battle morph at this point, do they?
No.
No, we don't know what Cassie acquired.
know.
That's right. It's a mystery for now.
It is a mystery.
We don't even know what Rachel acquired, but we'll soon find out. So they get their battle morphs, and the reason that they do this like really quick go to the gardens now and get this is because they find out that his Yeerk has to feed that night. So like, let's get firepower and get to the Yeerk pool tonight.
Right, because the Yeerks have to feed on Kendrona rays every 3 days.
Mm-hmm. And that's like their limit. Like I
Yeah.
think they try to go sooner than that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So they have to save Tom, because it's Jake's brother. Jake's little brother. Older brother.
His little brother.
Jake's little brother.
Jake's little brother.
Anyway.
Oh, so yeah. So the next note I have, I only know what happens next because of this note, which I'm going to say, it's another thing I'm going to say now. Keep it in mind for book, I believe 14. Or after 14. It's the first Megamorphs of the series in the time of the dinosaurs. Just keep this in your mind. Broccoli in book 1. Trace minerals you can't get anywhere else. Just keep that note in mind.
Oh my God.
Jake's mom says it to him.
Oh boy.
It's called out that she's a writer and she hates TV also in here, which I think is a common... Hating technology is kind of a common thing in these books, which is really funny.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, broccoli.
Broccoli. That's a thing.
Keep that in mind. And then when we get to that book, you'll be like, oh my god, you've been saying this to me for 10 years now. And then you're going to be horrified. And you'll be like, this is why you say these stupid things to me? Anyways, we'll leave that foreshadowing here. So they're having dinner at their house. Jake's mom brings up broccoli.
Yeah.
They go to the Yeerk pool. That was a
Yes.
very unimportant detail that I made a lot of noise about. So, they come together at the school. They're breaking into the Yeerk pool. Cassie is not there. Jake is pissed. But the reason Cassie's not there is because idiot Cassie has run in number 3 with the cop.
Oh.
She was being stupid, ran into the cop.
What was she doing again? I forgot.
I don't know that they ever tell us what she was doing other than just being around the school. They probably mention it, but it's like an off the cuff.
Wait, so like maybe she got there before everyone else did and maybe he like saw her and grabbed her?
Yeah, he thought she was like sneaking around suspiciously.
Oh my God.
And like, third time's a charm, so he's like, you're coming with me. And Jake has these moments of, this is bad. Starts talking about how all of his instincts are screaming that this is a terrible, bad idea and they shouldn't go down there. And this is, again, one of those instances of Jake ignoring his instincts and things going to shit. It happens. It's a terrible idea. And as they're sitting there, realizing everything's going to shit, Jake's pissed because Cassie's not there. She gets dragged by the cop.
The cop.
The cop.
Same cop.
The controller cop.
The reoccurring cop character.
The reoccurring cop character who's clearly a capital C controller. So, he drags her down to the Yeerk pool. And now it's like, if their plan was bad before, now it's gone to shit and was a bad plan. It's doubly bad. So, they just go to the Yeerk pool.
Yeah, they Leroy Jenkins it. They just run in there.
Leroy Jenkins. That's actually a much better way to think about it than they just wander in. They Leroy Jenkins it.
Yep.
And they go down. They're like, well, there's a bunch of people there. They can't know all the controllers by sight. Let's go.
That's true. They don't exactly like run in there like screaming. They walk in very noticeably, but they're not like drawing attention to themselves.
Right. And this was before the the Yeerk pool doesn't have any sort of like safety measures at this point. I think we're under the impression that the Yeerk pool is still under construction, because once they get down there's a bunch of like earth movers and things, and it's problematic. There's construction.
Sorry, I'm eating cookie dough. I've never heard the term earth mover before.
You are not the first person to say that about Animorphs.
Okay, I didn't know if that's like a regional thing, like a bubbler versus a water fountain, or like what the deal is, but I was like, what the fuck is an earth mover? Is that an earthbender? Like,
see, I'd heard that before, but I don't know.
From Animorphs?
It might have been from Animorphs. That's the problem. Like, I started reading them so young. I don't know that, like, I have the memory to be like, well, 6-year-old me didn't know what an earth mover was, but 7-year-old me sure did.
Sure.
So, but, like, it was descriptive enough that I got it. Maybe she just didn't want to, like, call out brands, like Caterpillar.
She can make all sorts of 90s reference, but she can't call out.
She can't call out brands. Maybe she would like, oh, well, if I say it's a caterpillar, it'll confuse them because these kids think that it's all about animals. But instead, we're talking about a large caterpillar. And they'll be like, well, where's the giant caterpillar from? Outer space? Also, I don't know any other brands of construction equipment.
I actually don't either. I've just heard cat before, but I'm pretty sure it's short for caterpillar.
I'm pretty sure it is too.
Okay.
And like, the only other one I know off the top of my head was a crane, which again is confusing because it's an animal.
Look, it's a crane!
Oh, God. So,
anyway.
yeah. So they go and find the earth movers. I don't know any other names for them now. Steamroller, but that wouldn't be at a Yeerk pool. It's got to be a digger, right?
Yeah. Construction equipment.
Diggers.
Large construction equipment.
Large construction equipment. And so they're down there hiding behind stuff, like a pile of dirt.
In barrels.
In barrels.
Under crates. Like Solid Snake.
Oh, God. There's probably a forklift down there. She could have said forklift.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She didn't think of that. We did. We're on it. If you want to know what you need to build a Yeerk pool, we're going to come up with a list of construction equipment you.
Okay.
And they're digging pools, so there's got to be like some sort of concrete mixer down there for sure.
Yeah.
Because she kind of references, I guess, that it's just built into the dirt. That's how I imagine it, like a rocky, craggy.
And I did imagine it like poured into like an immaculate thing of like concrete, like being a very industrial kind of like, I don't know, Hoover Dam situation.
When they were giving me the whole like steel platform thing, I imagined it was a steel platform outside of like this very like evil looking like red rocky craggy surface that they poured that molten lead metal water into.
Oh, that's right.
Like but that could just be like the illustrator in my head being like,
okay, this
is how I would show evil.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking, like, liquid would be absorbed into the soil,
It
maybe,
would, and they are
the
an advanced alien species, so it makes sense that they'd have, like, concrete.
But maybe concrete is, like, a human thing, and they weren't here long enough to learn about
No, that's their whole thing, though, because they take controllers, they learn, and they assimilate. That would make total sense.
Okay.
You make way more sense than I do.
Holy shit, well...
I'm just
We're
like...
just painting a mental picture for you.
I was going with that, like, hell picture, because, like, everything is, like, red light and smoke and steam and steel and craggy rocks and
hell.
And hell, and, like, you're like, yeah, they built, like, normal friggin' people building a pool, which makes total sense, because...
Well, yeah, and honestly, I'm picturing, like, kind of a shanty town under there. Like, there's just fucking, like, ratchet buildings made of, like, steel plates and stuff and like wood and there's just these, they're kind of assimilated around these big pools. I don't know, like, but I'm just picturing like a shanty town.
That makes way more sense, because I was just picturing that craggy pool and then stripper cages where they kept the people in. Stripper cages, like just loose, like non-topped stripper cages.
Yeah.
Which I guess I was picturing like the 90s cartoon version of like because, you know, they'd get those cages and, like, they'd always suspend the good guys in them above some acid pit. That's, like, what I was
like crocodiles in it.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Like the Rescuers Down Under. Never mind. Anyways,
I know
you make way more sense.
Maybe they were hanging the cages from the Earth Movers. Like in the Rescuers Down Under.
And that's why they needed the cranes that we couldn't name, so it'd be confusing. They'd think there was birds.
Yes.
Which, speaking of birds flying around down there, Tobias is flying around down there completely undetected.
Yeah. It's not really common to find birds underground.
No, but he did it, and they're like, this is fine. And also, when they were going down the stairs, what was he doing?
I'm just picturing him, like, as a hawk, like, walking down the stairs.
That's kind of what I... Like, because, you know, like, birds, when they hop down the stairs one at a time, they just... Well, I don't know how many people would have seen this, but I have a lot of birds. And when they go downstairs without flying, they hop one at a time. Yeah. And it's literally like, dunk, dunk. So I'm imagining, like, them, like, walking down the stairs, and then Tobias and his little hawk fort, like, one step at a time, dunk, dunk, dunk. Anyways.
But can raptors spread their feet flat, like...
Yes, they can.
Okay,
they can stand on the ground like that. And especially if we're going to get really nerdy here, speaking of great horned owls, they have those zygodactyl feet, so they can spread them forward and backwards, too. But hawks don't. They're just...
Yeah, they're just three in front, one in the back.
Three in the front, one in the back.
I forgot what that's called.
I can't probably try.
Ornithology.
Yeah, ornithology. It's been a while since I've looked that up.
Well, and Tobias flying around down there, he was also, when they went to the sharing, that took place at night, I believe, and he was flying around at night. And it's like hawks don't do that.
And they do mention that hawk eyesight isn't great at night, but like legitimately they cannot see.
Yeah.
Like there's the way their eye is shaped, the way it catches the light, it's shaped like a pear. They don't have a lot of all their sight is focused on distance and color and detail. It is not focused on light and dark. Like if we're getting nerdy.
I mean, we're just calling out little, you know.
Yeah, the details. And again, as the series goes on, some of it gets better. Some of it's like you're reading a book and you've got to like bow down a little because, you know, things have to move forward plot-wise that, you know. Yeah,
and like honestly, I kind of believe that maybe they weren't super careful in the beginning about like, oh, there's a hawk flying around at night. Hawks wouldn't do that. Like, I know that they learn from this, like, and I know that everyone except Cassie is not super knowledgeable about animal behavior. So, like, I can believe that they kind of made these kind of, like, juvenile mistakes.
Yeah, and they're, like, 12.
And they're 12. They're 12-year-old kids. Yeah. So, like, I can buy that. It's just me and you as, like, animal enthusiasts that are like, that would never work.
Right. And the funny thing is, though, is, like, part of the reason... At least I can say for sure in my case, part of the reason I am such an animal enthusiast is because of these books.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And that being said, they're always discovering new things every day, and facts change, and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, you can't be that mad. But yeah, speaking of not being careful at all, like, the other things they do down here is they morph, and they rip out of their clothes. Like, they don't break into the Yeerk pool in their morphing. They do have their morphing outfits on underneath. But they morph out of their clothes and leave shredded clothes in the Yeerk pool.
Huh. I didn't think about that.
And, not to skip too far ahead, but when Rachel's escaping the Yeerk pool, she's demorphing as she's walking up the stairs. With Visor 3 in hot pursuit and a bunch of people around.
Yeah.
Like, they were not careful. And their entire plan was, let's walk in there and see what happens.
Yeah.
They're not careful.
I mean, they're
12.
They're 12. This is their first, like...
This is their first mission.
Like, yeah.
And they don't have backup from anyone. They don't have any outside knowledge at this point, which they gain throughout the series, but like at this point it's literally they're like, all we know is what Elfangor told us before he died.
Yeah.
And that is it.
Yeah. So they went in to be a recon mission and it went horribly wrong.
And all they try to do for a long time is recon, and it just always goes horribly. Everything goes wrong for these kids.
Yep.
Oh, jeez. So, another scary moment in the first book is Marco makes Jake swear that if a Yeerk ever gets into Marco's head, that Jake murders him.
That is some fucking, like, Firefly Reaver shit. You know?
I never thought of it like that. I mean...
Immediately when I read that, I was like, Reavers! Like, Mal, don't let him take me! I was like, oh shit!
That is a Mal, don't let him take me moment.
It is! Oh my god.
Oh,
I'm
geez.
Significantly more scared of Reavers than Yeerks, though.
Well, that's because, you know, Visor 3 is kind of like a character. He's a campy character.
Yeah.
He's not like, you know...
He's like, you fools!
They'll kill you, they'll rape you, and they'll eat you, and hopefully in that order. That's not Visor 3.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
I mean, it's some
he'll turn into a giant, you know, alien and eat you alive.
He will eat you, but he eats you alive.
He's got like 2/3 of that going on.
Yeah, he's got 2/3 on there.
Anyway.
But he doesn't, anyways.
Sorry, we're getting off on a horrible tangent.
That was a horrible tangent.
But you're right, that is a scary kind of moment.
Yeah,
and that's a very, like, intense thing for a 12-year-old to say to another 12-year-old.
It is, and that's, I think, the first time... It starts right away in book 2, they start mentioning this, but in book 1, this is the first time that it's really, like, being enslaved in your own head could be worse than death. Mm-hmm. Like, this could be the worst thing ever.
Yeah, because they, like, down there, they see, like, Yeerks being put into and extracted out of hosts' heads, and they see kind of the change in the hosts, you know, what was it, like, they took it out of a woman's head and she's, like, screaming, like, no, don't put it back in my head, like, don't do this.
Exactly, and then that's when Jake asked Tobias, do you see Tom? And he goes, yeah, and he needed to know that he wasn't a voluntary controller, and according to Rachel, the voluntary controllers are even worse. She's like, you're a betrayer, you're scum, like, she's right. In my opinion, she's right. But at the same time, like, you know, it's scary. And then Jake was, of course, relieved to know that Tom was fighting them.
Right.
And that's probably, I mean, that's the Tom's character right there.
Yeah.
Like, he's like Jake. And Tom is like what Jake would have been with a Yeerk in his head.
Yeah. Sigh in unison.
I know. I'm just so stressed about this.
Oh my gosh.
So, anyways, they're going to get Cassie because she's about to be shoved into the Yeerk pool. And not only is their friends about to be turned into this horrific thing, but this is, I think, when they start to get that instinct for, if she is caught, we are screwed. Yeah. Things will go bad.
Yeah.
So they're willing to do... take a lot of risks that they wouldn't have taken because Cassie just can't be taken. Their families will be just murdered and things, and it'll be bad.
Bad news.
So they start morphing, and this is where we find out Rachel's first battle morph.
Which is amazing. She turns into a giant elephant. Yes.
Which is incredible.
So Rachel is a tank.
She is a tank. And I always love, like, with her descriptions of elephants. Of course, it changes, like, what they talk about when she's morphing. But my favorite times are the times that her hair morphs last. So she's just this giant elephant with like a blonde hair. Those are the best.
Oh my gosh.
So that's amazing. I always love it when that happens. So
Rachel morphs into an elephant and starts just, like, mowing people down.
Left and right.
And right. Jake does his tiger morph. And Marco does his gorilla morph, and he's just, like, punching people in the face.
He is. And this is, the first time they kill is Rachel. She kills a Taxon. She tears it to pieces and, like, tramples it.
Yes.
Which is pretty interesting. And true to character. Mm-hmm. So she murders the Taxon, and they're fighting, and Rachel's throwing people, and Marco's punching people, and Jake's got his tiger thing going, and Tobias even joins the fight after a little while, and Visor 3 comes out of nowhere.
Right. The big boss is there.
The big boss. He's always there. So he stumbles out. He turns into a giant 8-headed creature that shoots fireballs. And the first thing he does is shoot fireballs at them, hit a woman who's just been freed from the cages, and burns her alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fun.
Yeah.
And
no big deal.
Yeah, I'll backtrack a little bit and say that what happened with Cassie was that Jake was about to that's another big plot point. So Cassie's about to get her head dipped in the pool by Hork-Bajir. Tobias comes down, rakes the Hork-Bajir's eyes out, which is his go-to move. And
go for the eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And so she gets free and runs away, and Jake has this moment right before that where Tom gets freed from the cage. I think it's Marco that lets him out.
Yeah.
So Tom is out of there. Marco's freeing people, and Jake can choose to go to Tom or choose to go to Cassie, who's about to get her head dipped into the pool. Oh. And he says in the books that he often thinks back to that and has that moment of like, did I do the right thing?
Oh shit!
But he totally did, because if Cassie had have gotten a Yeerk in her head, they'd all be screwed, and it doesn't matter. Like,
right.
I don't even know why he's contemplating this.
Yeah.
But he did.
Yeah.
He had that moment.
But, yeah. And then, so they start...
Sorry,
I'm just like...
I was just
contemplating
that. I was like, it's such gravity, I need to think about it
for
a moment.
So that's a thing. And, so they free a bunch of people, and they free a bunch of, like, Hork-Bajir, too, right? Like...
I think so, yeah. I think they just started opening cages at random.
Because, like, all the Taxons are voluntary hosts, correct?
Yes.
And and the Hork-Bajir are not all voluntary. So
right, they're all slaves. I don't think any. Well, anyways.
So Cassie morphs into her horse form at that point, and
in the middle of a crowd.
In the middle of a crowd, she like picks up a couple people on her back, and they all start running towards the stairs. And Visser 3 is like again shooting fireballs at everybody and everything.
That's when he nails the second rider on Cassie.
Yeah.
And she's the one that burns alive.
Yeah. So they're all trying to get up the stairs, and like Rachel is morphing from her elephant form into her human form while she's climbing the stairs, which I'm not sure how that works.
I don't know why she couldn't climb the stairs as an elephant. Like, I feel like it's possible. I guess it depends on stair height. I'm imagining, like, again, a really craggy, like, low-cut stair.
Oh, see, I was picturing, steel stairs, but not very well reinforced, like it could snap off at any minute.
Oh.
Kinda like...
See, I was imagining going up, like, this almost rocky corridor, so it was,
Yeah.
And that's why Visser 3, like, couldn't see them as they were running, because it wasn't, like, an open stairwell, like, zigzagging up to the...
Sure.
So that was why I was like, oh, yeah, she can get away and kind of be out of sight.
Okay.
But again, this is... We have very different pictures of the Yeerk pool.
I don't know.
Yours is way more accurate, I feel.
Nah. So, yeah, they're trying to run away, and Visser 3 is just, like, being
fireball. Crazy. And he's giving his, like, speech, which cracks me up because,
I think one thing we didn't mention is that Visser 3 is under the impression that he knows that there are people that are morphing, but he thinks they're Andalites. He does not know they are human, and that seems important.
It is, because that's their cover. Because if he knew it was humans, then they'd figure out really quickly who it was. So they want to keep them thinking they're Andalite bandits for as long as possible.
So, he's like yelling like, I'm gonna get you, Andalites, I'm gonna kill you all, blah, blah, blah.
Which is really funny because, like, right before this, when Rachel was throwing Hork-Bajir around, she was like, I will crush you, puny things.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep.
She's, like, on a power trip.
She is. She's like, she and Visser 3 have these moments of, like, haha, you idiots.
Oh, boy.
Which cracks me up.
Yeah.
But yeah, he thinks they're Andalite bandits, so he's, like, screaming up after them. Which is why I'm like, why are you leaving shredded clothing and morphing right in front of them and in crowds? Yeah. I'm like, if anyone sees you and says something to Visser 3, which is a whole other can of worms, like, they'll know. They'll be in trouble.
Also, did kids not carry, like, wallets around with them?
Probably not in middle school. Did you carry a wallet in middle school?
Nah, probably not. I didn't have any money.
Well, I didn't have any money either.
It's like, you don't need an ID when you're 12.
Well, we had to wear it on a lanyard, so they could immediately ID us.
Yeah. Like, I'm just trying to think about, like, if Jake, like, stuck his wallet in his pocket and then, like, shredded out of his clothes.
Right?
Yeah, chain wallet.
Yeah, like, you'd keep your, like, what? You wouldn't have any money. You'd have, like, your gift card for your one store that you got for your birthday.
Abercrombie and Fitch.
Rachel has a credit card, though, in here.
We're just, like, staring at each other and pointing.
For no reason. I don't know why that was, like, an epic moment for us.
Anyway.
I was going to say something else, but I'm not going to. So, anyways, a lot of people die. A lot of Hork-Bajir get crushed. Ataxin gets crushed.
Yeah.
Shit's gone bad.
It's calamity.
It is calamity.
And bloodshed and death.
But it gave us a really good glimpse into what they have to face.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And they did save one person?
They saved one person who, like, was like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I just won't.
do we ever hear from that person?
Never again.
Okay.
She disappears into the mist.
She's not
and she's like, I just won't tell. And they're like, pinky promise? Cool.
Oh. Okay. I didn't know if it was, like, this herd of random wild animals, like, gets her out of there, drops her off.
No, they're
and she,
demorphed by the time they get to the top of the stairs.
Oh, that's right.
And she just, like, walks away.
Oh my gosh.
And they made some comment, like, Cassie says something like, oh, the cop won't be a problem anymore. And then the lady's like, I need to get away from all of this. I'm out. Forever.
Oh, I do not remember that.
It was really off the cuff. Like, it was one of those, like, one sentence dismissals of all of this. Like, don't worry about them.
That's...
I know.
I guess if I was a writer, I would choose to, like, bring that person in again somehow. Because that's a pretty, like...
There's so much going on, though.
I mean, yeah, and it's possible, like, you know, when you suffer a traumatic experience, like, sometimes you experience, like, you can't remember all of it.
Right,
so,
you get, like, disassociative and memory loss.
Yeah, so, like, maybe that happened. I don't know. In any case, she's unimportant.
She's unimportant. She's gone.
Yeah, she's okay.
You don't know how hard it was not to say there's a million things I haven't done after you said she's unimportant.
No. It's not a Hamilton podcast.
Just you wait.
No.
Anyways. Right. So, they all leave, and in a rare oversight from Jake, he does not check his team. And I think this moment...
Ooh, yeah.
He doesn't check his team, they leave, they don't see Tobias, and they all just go home and go to bed. And I think that this moment is what immediately stops Jake from doing this. And Tobias shows up later in the morning. He knocks on his window. He's a bird knocking on his window. He lets him into the room. And Jake's like, dude, you can have the bed. I'm so tired. I can sleep on a bed of nails. And Tobias is like, yeah, no. And Jake's like, demorph. And he's like, yeah, I stayed over 2 hours. And that's where we get our first... I wrote soft casualty.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. This was as close as we could get in the first book to taking someone's life without actually killing off one of the main characters in the very first book of the series.
Yeah.
So...
It's a punch, for sure.
It's a punch. Jake starts crying, and now one of their team members is a hawk. So it's 4 normal kids, 12 years old, and a bird against an entire alien invasion.
Yeah. The end!
The end! Yay!
That's book 1!
Everyone starts crying, and we call it a day.
Oh my god.
Yes, there's tears streaming down Jake's face, we're like, out!
These are kids' books.
These are children's books.
Oh
I have that written somewhere right around here. These are children's books.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So, that was a hell of a first book. That kind of probably sets the tone for the rest of the series.
Very pleasant, upbeat.
Yeah.
Lots of snapping.
Yeah. Oh man. So,
I just want to say this is the end of Tobias's soulful eyes.
Aw, now he's just got fierce, intense,
scary
looking
gaze.
Eyes.
And a beautiful red tail.
Hawk.
A hawk.
But you love red tails.
I do. Did I tell you about the hawk I named Tobias?
No.
The lady brought it in. She's like, I have a baby red tail. And this was another rehabber that brought it in. So we're like, yeah, we'll believe you. Like, you're another rehabber. So we started, like, introducing him to some of the red tails we have. And, like, we kept saying, man, this baby does not look like a red tail. And it turned out he was a Cooper's hawk. And I'm like, well, I named him Tobias, and he changed. So... Yay. Hashtag rehabber screw-ups.
That'd be funny if he turned into a Harris hawk.
That would
have turned out to be a Harris
hawk. I would have
hawk.
been so mad.
Oh my god.
I would have immediately been like, screw this, I'm out.
Flip the
Not
table.
because I hate Harris Hawks, just because the TV show.
Yeah.
I love Harris Hawks. I
Yeah.
just can't believe that TV show.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Tobias is a Harris Hawk in the TV show.
It's very annoying.
Obvious, yeah.
It's very obvious.
It's very, yeah.
So annoying.
Anyways.
So that's book 1.
That's book 1.
We end on tears.
Hooray.
Hooray. How exciting for all of us.
Oh, man.
Oh,
that was intense.
That was intense. That was, we're approaching our 2-hour time limit, so we better get out.
Do we have any additional thoughts or feelings or questions or...
I don't. I feel like I asked them all to you during this time.
Yeah. Like, I was trying to save my questions to the end, but...
Oh, I was rude and interrupted.
No, you were not. I'm excited to see what book 2 has in store.
Me too.
Yay.
And it's Rachel!
Rachel!
Which, I'm not going to say she's my favorite, because I have 2 favorites, as I've made abundantly clear.
Right. Right.
And I'm going to make a true effort. I do like Cassie. I do like her.
I'm interested.
I just get so mad at her as the series goes on. But the last read, I came into this being like, I'm going to like Cassie, and I really did for a long time. And then I hit a book, and I'm like, fuck you, Cassie. Anyways, who's your favorite character so far?
I don't know. It's too soon to tell. I do like
Okay.
Rachel. I like her because she's very different from me, I think. Like, I feel like if I were to pick a character I am most like, I would probably say Marco. I'm very into, like, self-preservation and kind of, like, for the most part, seeing the humor in things. But
I like it.
that said, I really admire Rachel and her feminist go-to attitude.
Her badassery.
Yeah. She's a frickin' knight in shining armor.
She's so badass.
She's an Amazon queen.
She's an Amazon queen.
Anyway, and I know who your favorites are.
I know. I'm so obvious.
Nah.
My bad, yo.
My bad. Alright, well, I guess that is that then.
That's that. We'll wrap it up. See you next time. Same bad time, same bad place.
90s references.
90s. Well, that
Actually,
was
no.
80s, right?
Yeah. Oh,
70s?
When did Batman happen? 60s? He's old.
Oh, that is true.
He's freaking old.
It was back when running with a bomb above your head was acceptable.
Oh yeah, Adam West Batman. That was definitely like 60s.
60s?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, 60s reference.
Hooray!
We've hit,
We've
what,
been all over
3
the world.
decades?
Yes.
Oh, wait, and we made Hamilton. 4 decades?
Oh my god.
We're out of control.
References. Don't sue us.
All right, we're getting out of here before our 2-hour time.
We're gonna go have sushi burritos.
Yay!
Okay, bye.
Bye.